Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be creating this monthly and annual budget template. This template comes with two different sections. A section for monthly tracking, as you can see in the example here, January and February. And of course, you can add more months as you go on. And we have the annual tab. This tab summarizes all of the information that we've entered into the monthly tab to give you an overview of how your year is going in a table form as well as in a chart form. This tutorial is going to be really long, so it's going to be broken down into two parts. In the first part, we're going to create the monthly tab, and in part two, we'll create the annual summary. This template works with just the monthly section, so if you don't want the annual summary part of this template, you don't need to create it. The template will still work. In addition to that, you can actually start by using the monthly tabs, and then later on when you're ready, you can come back and create the annual tab and link the monthly tabs. All right, so here's our tutorial checklist. The first is the template overview. So let's go to our setup tab, and here is where we're going to add the different categories and subcategories. So for this budget tracker, we have income, fixed expenses, variable expenses, debt, and savings. So these categories are self-explanatory, but I want to take a moment to differentiate between the fixed expense and the variable expense. The fixed expense are things like mortgage, electricity, gas bill. Think of these expenses as ones that have fixed dates that you have to pay. The rent has a due date, the electricity bill has a due date. So even though the amounts might vary, the dates that you have to pay this expense is fixed. On the other hand, the variable expenses can vary in the amounts that you're going to spend month to month. It can also vary when you're going to create that expense. When you look at these examples, things like groceries, dining out, entertainment, these are things that vary month to month, meaning that when you decide to pay for this expense and how much you decide to spend in these categories can vary month to month. So the rest of it should be pretty self-explanatory. Income will be all your income sources. This also works well if you have a joint income family. You can put your partner's income here as well as any other sources of income that you have. Your debt would be things like your credit card debt, your student loans, any other type of debt that you want to keep track of. And then savings would be your savings. And with all of these, if you want to expand them all the way down, you can do so as well. All right, here we are in the monthly tab. I'll give you a quick overview. We're going to be creating all of this from scratch. First, we have this area that you would use to select your month. And when we have this section that has two purposes. One is that it can help you with the budgeting process. Visually, if you're budgeting, you check this box. And what that does is shows you the spaces in this template that you can go in and enter your budget. And then when you're tracking actual values, you can check this box and then it shows you where you would go in to enter the actual values. If you are using the zero budget system where every single dollar that comes into your income is assigned to all of your expense categories, then this keeps track of it for you. This table is a monthly summary table. We have income, fixed expenses, variable expenses, debt, and savings. We have a bunch of charts here. One shows you a breakdown of how you plan to spend your money. One shows you how you actually spent your money, and then this compares them side by side, expected versus actual. And then for February, it's exactly the same thing. And then the annual summary tab will give you a summary for the entire year. What it's going to do is pull information from each of the monthly tabs. And as you can see, we only have values entered in for January and February because we only have these two tabs. To create one for the next month, which is March, go to any of the tabs, doesn't matter which one. All right, so we're going to use February, duplicate that, change the name from February to March, hit enter. Now when we go to our annual summary, you can see that the values for March appears here. Now it's exactly the same as February because we haven't changed anything, but if I go here and just make a few changes for the other sections just to make it different. Now when I go to the annual summary, you can see that it actually reflects that of March. So once you create one month, all you're doing is duplicating it, changing the date, and renaming it to make sure that the name here matches the names you have here. And then when you get to that month, enter the values for that month and it would feed into the annual summary tab. All right, that was a really long overview, but I wanted you to understand exactly how it works. So as we're building the template, some of the things we're doing make sense. So we can cross this step off. Next, we're going to create our setup tab. To do this, we'll start with a blank sheet. And then what I normally do is I select everything and I make global changes. So that means I'll change the fonts to what I like to use and change the alignment. Then what I do next is I remove the excess rows and columns. So if you look at this setup tab example, everything after P has been removed and everything after 27. So I'll do something similar here. First, I'll rename this setup 2, remove everything after P, select Q, go all the way down, delete, and then I'm actually going to do after 29 here. Select everything all the way down, delete that as well. All right, and then I'm going to resize my rows. So select all the rows all the way down to 28, resize, 30. Select the column A and column P, right click, resize, make that 30 as well. Next, we're going to create these tables here. So you can see that each section for each category has two columns, one for the number and one for the actual category and then a subcategory. So we're going to do the same thing here. We'll create the table here. This is going to be for the number category and subcategories, and then we'll have a space, and then we'll do the next one. We'll have space and do the next one. We're going to put a spacer column after every two columns. So this is a spacer column, and just repeat that until we cover the entire space. Right click and resize them together, make that 30. All right, and then if we go back here, you see that the number column is a narrower column, but we'll do the same thing here. So we're just selecting the first column for each one, right? This is the number column, this is the text column. Right click and make that 30. And then for the text column, select those, resize, make that 200. You can choose to make it wider if you feel like you need more space to add your specific examples. All right, so now you can already see the table's gonna go here. So select this area, put an outline around it. So here's where the table is going to go, and this is going to be the header area. Select that, put an outline and merge. Here's where the number is going to go, and here's where the text is going to go. Select this internal table area. We're going to put internal horizontal borders. Click on horizontal borders, but I want to change it from this harsh color to a lighter color. So I'll change it to this color here. Change the style to the dotted line, and here's what it looks like. Now we're going to add colors to our templates. So to apply colors in Google Sheets is pretty straightforward. Select the area you want to apply color to, go to fill color and apply whatever color you want. However, what I like to do is use this custom color section here. So if you open up your sheets, you're not going to have these colors selected here. It probably looks something more like this. I selected this color palette right here. And the reason why I use this color palette here, so the one that says custom, is that it's going to allow you make changes to your template a lot easier. So let's say for now you're just following along with the tutorial and you're not ready to select the colors you want. You can select the colors from here. All right, so let's say here I want this green color, and here I want this burnt orange color, and let's do one more, this deep orange color. All right, and then later on I have created my template. I'm happy with how things look. I want to change the colors instead of going to each individual area. So like this area here in the templates that has this green color, if we go here, it's also here, right? If we go to the annual summary tab, it's also here. You have to go to so many places to change it. Or if you use this custom color here, all you need to do is go here, identify the color you want to change. So let's say you want to change this green color, just change it right here. So let's say you want to select this purple instead. Click done. So now you see it changes it here automatically. And not only that, everywhere in the template that we had that green color, it changes it. It saves you a lot of time, because if you've used that same color every single place, it changes it all at once. So that is my recommendation. I'm not going to show you what colors to use. What's important is that when you're applying the colors and you click on the area you want to apply the color to, and you go to fill color, don't choose the colors here. Choose them from here. All right, so what I'm going to do now is apply colors from here to my table. So first I'll apply a color to the background area where the subcategories are going to go. Click fill color, I'll do this one right here. And then before I apply the header color, what I'm going to do is select this table because it's going to be identical for the rest of them. Select the entire table, use the paint format and paste it here. And do it 2 more times. Actually, I'll just select this 2 at once and do it right here. Now I can apply different colors to this area. Go ahead and apply whatever colors you want to your template. I'm going to be using these ones here. So here's what it looks like. And then now we'll type in our categories. Now that we have our table completed, we can go ahead and click on view and remove grid lines. So here's what it looks like. Now if we go back to our setup tab, this is a little bit different. These tables are shorter, so it's really up to you if you want to keep the longer version to give you more space to add more examples of each category. You're free to do so. All right, so what I'm going to do now is copy and paste my placeholder values. So if you already know your income sources, your fixed expenses, go ahead and type it in your copy. But if you want to use placeholder values, you can do so as well. And then later on, once you're done with the template, you can come back and swap those out for your real categories and subcategories. All right, so this tab is done. Back to our checklist. Cross this off. Next, we're going to create an outline for the monthly tab. Okay, this tab right here. We'll start with a new sheet. Select everything and clean it up. Rename it January 2 to distinguish it from the first one. If we go back to January, the example, everything after U for columns has been removed, and after 38. So we'll do the same here. Remove everything after U and 38. Now I can select the entire thing and do exactly what I did before. I'm going to resize the rows to 30. Select the first column and the last one, column U. Resize 30. All right, let's go back to our example. Here you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. Each section has 4 columns. They have the spacer column, another 4 columns, and a spacer column. It goes like that all the way till the end. So let's do the same thing. Here is our first section, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, and column F is a spacer column. We do the same for the next section, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next section, this is the last 1, 2, 3, 4. We already have the last column resized. Right click, 30. Next, we're going to resize the columns in each section. We have a narrow column, a wide column, and 2 medium-sized columns. This is the first column in each section. So column B, column G, column L, and column Q. So these 4, right click, make those 30 as well. And then for the second column, column C, H, M, and R, we're going to right click those. And we're going to make these 200. And then for these 2 columns, so D and E, I and J, N and Q, S and T, we're going to leave that as 100. Right, so now we can go ahead and add the rectangles in each section. Starting with this section, we have 4 columns and 4 rows. Do the same thing here. Starting from row 2 all the way down to 5. Select the entire section across 4 columns. Go ahead and put an outline around there. Here's going to be the header area. Put an outline here and merge. Here's where the date's going to go. Select that entire area as well and merge. Next, we'll work on this section here. This has 4 columns and 3 rows, so do the same thing. Here, do the outline, and then merge the first 3 cells, put a border around it. Next is the monthly summary table. This goes from row 11 to row 19, so do the same thing, 11 to 19, right here. Put a border around it. Here's going to be a header area, so select that, put a border around it, and merge. Next is our income table, from 21 all the way to 37. Go here, 21 to 37, put a border around it. Select the header area, put a border around it, and merge. Next, we'll work on this section. We have the chart area, and then we have the table area for the fixed expenses. So this chart area is going to go from 2 to 9. All right, so back here, this is going to be from 2 to 9, right? So this section right here, put a border around it, put a border around the header area, and merge. Then we have a table that's going to go here, from here all the way down. So select the entire area, outer border, select the header area, merge, outer border. All right, these sections are almost identical. So we're going to copy and paste. Select the entire thing, copy it, paste it right here. For the last section, we have the chart area, which is essentially the same as this. So we can actually copy it from here as well and paste it here. And then we'll work on the 2 smaller tables. The first table goes from 11 to 23. And the next one goes from 25 to 37. So let's do that now. So here, 11 to 23, and then we're just going to copy this because it's going to be exactly the same and paste it here. And this goes from 25 to 37. Next, I want to apply color. So I'm going to show you how I did it for the setup tab. You can see I'm assigning this color to income throughout the template. So this green color shows up here. It also shows up here. The annual summary table. This color has been assigned to income. So you can do something similar, but what I'm going to do now is add colors here based on what I have done here. Go ahead and add whatever colors you want. All right, so here's what it's looking like. The other thing that I did was I added internal horizontal border. So I'm going to remove the grid line so you can see it better. All right, so for each section, I added internal horizontal borders. This is just a style thing. So if you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but you can see in each section I have internal horizontal borders. For the summary area, the second to last row in the monthly summary area, I have color here that matches the color in this area. So basically you can do whatever colors you want. And if you want to use my exact colors, of course, you're welcome to pause the video and apply the same color style that I have used. Now that this is done, next we're going to add what goes into each section. Now for this section, it's telling us what month we have selected. So we'll go here and type in select months. And then what we want is that when we double click here, the calendar pops up so we can select the month instead of having to type it every single time. To do this, go to data validation, add rule. In this cell, change it from drop down to is valid date and check this box so it shows this helpful message, especially if you're going to be sharing this template with somebody else, and click on reject the input and click done. When I double click here, you can see the calendar pops up and I can select whatever day I want. So the other thing I want to do is change how this is displayed. I want it to say the month and the year instead of this date format. To do this, go to format, number, custom date and time, and then we're going to look for something that looks close to what we want. So maybe this one right here. Now, even though it's not exactly what we want, we can make changes. So for the month section, click and change it to month as full name, and we don't want the day, so we're going to delete that. And also I'm going to delete the space, the extra space and the comma. For the year, I want it to be full numeric here, so make sure that's selected, click apply. So now it looks like this, and you can go ahead and increase the size, make it bold if it isn't already bolded. Next, we're going to work on this table right here. Remember, this is a table symbol that we're going to use to highlight the sections that we are working on when we're budgeting versus when we're entering actual values. So when we're budgeting, you'll check this box and then it will highlight the areas that is for budgeting. So you can go in and type in your expected income, expected expenses. And then when you have your real expenses, you check this and it allows you enter the actual values in the right area. We have this section right here that is zero budget. So when you are budgeting or when you're entering actual value, you can see the difference between your income and the sum of your expenses. All right, so we're going to create a section right here. First, I'm just going to copy the text and I'm going to paste it here. This is check the box to highlight section and this says zero budget. The first column here will have checkboxes. So select these two cells, insert checkbox. All right, so that's done. And then this says I am budgeting and this says I am entering actual value. So if you're not using the word budgeting, you can change it to whatever you want. And I like to bold this just to show that there's a difference. This is for budgeting, which would be here, these gray columns, and the actual values, which would be here. And this is going to be conditional formatting to create these color changes. So for example, if I were to increase the income, let's say 1,200. Now you can see that the difference between the income and the expenses, and this changes to green automatically. So this is controlled by conditional formatting and we'll enter that in later on. The next section here is the monthly summary. So we're going to type monthly summary for the title and then we have category, expected, and actual. I like the word expected here because it makes the most sense, but you can use whatever values that work for you. So you can type in planned, budgeted, whatever works for you. All right, just as long as you know that this is anticipated and this is what happened at the end of the month. So go ahead and type in your values. Of course, to save time, I'm going to be doing a lot of copying and pasting. All right, so I'm just pasting here the title, which is monthly summary. This column is going to hold the categories, expected, actual. Next, we're going to add these symbols here. All right, so we have plus, negatives, and equals is next to leftover because it's the difference between income and the expenses. So we'll do that next. Click here. Here's going to be income. So the first box here, click on insert, emoji. Go to this second to the last icon here, and we're going to look for plus right here. And then for this one, it's going to be the same step, emoji, and we're going to look for minus like this. And then we can copy this all the way down, paste. All right, and then here we're going to add equals. So go to insert, emoji, same area. There you go, equals. And then now you can type income, expense, or if you want to save time, we're going to reference it from our setup tab. So to do this, click in that cell, equals, go to our setup tab and just reference it directly from here. And what's nice about doing it this way is that if you change your mind for any of them, especially if you change it in the setup tab, it changes it everywhere automatically. So you don't have to change it in the setup tab and then change it in the monthly tab, etc. All right, just change it in one area and it changes everywhere. So we reference them and we can do it here and we can do it in the individual table area, and I'll show you what that means. So now I'm adding the last one, savings. So what I mean is that these tables are also going to have the category header. So you can do the same thing. So for income, this is the location. So we can copy this and just type it here, and that's income. So fixed expenses, we're just going to copy it from here. All right, variable expenses in the next one, paste it here, debts, and then savings. All right, and I'm just going to change the color to match what I have here for debt, which is this deep orange color, just so everything matches. All right, so here's what it looks like. Okay, now because this is the monthly summary area, we're going to use formulas to pull in the sum of the fixed expenses, variable expenses, etc. So what's going to go here is going to be the sum of the values entered here. What's going to go here is the sum of the values entered here, and so on and so forth. So we're not going to do anything else here. The only thing we're going to do is format this area because this is going to be in the format of currency. So selecting these two cells, so select the entire range, go to format, and here are your currency formats. So select whatever currency format you want. If you want to use a different currency from the one that displays here, go to custom currency, type in your country or currency symbol, and select whatever you need from here. And for this, I'm going to use this currency symbol. So if I type in a number here, for example, you can see it automatically shows up in this format. This should say total expenses and this should say leftover. So just make sure you add these two to complete the table. All right, so now this table is done. We do have some conditional formatting in this table as well. We'll add that later. So the conditional formatting shows up here. This change in color is the same conditional formatting formula that is used to change the colors here. So we're going to apply that later on. Next, we'll work on this section. For the second row in each table, it's going to be the same. So we have check max, subcategory, expected actual, subcategory, budget actual. So again, just use whatever verbiage you want to use, but it's going to be more or less the same. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. These four sections, we're going to use the same column headers. All right. So far, so good. Let's go back here. We're going to add our checkboxes and make sure that this has the right format for currency. So let's do that next. Here, select this area, insert our checkboxes, and then the second column is going to have drop-downs for the subcategories. So select the entire range, data validation, add rule, change it from drop-down to drop-down from range, select the icon to select data range, go to your setup tab, and that is going to be the income subcategory. So just select everything all the way down. Click OK. Now you can go to advanced option and change the style. The automatic one selected is chip. I'm going to change it to arrow, click done, and then when I go back here, I can select my subcategories. Next, I'm going to add the currency formatting. So select the entire range all the way down, change the format to currency like we did before. And then now if I type in a currency here, it has the right format. All right. And then this should say total. And then we'll add the formulas later that would sum the amounts in this column and in this column. But for now, just type total and that should be enough. Okay. And then we're just repeating the same steps for these sections here. First, we'll start by selecting this, and we can do them all at once to save time. So I'm selecting the first column for the rest of the tables. Insert checkbox. All right. And then for each individual one, I'll add the subcategory. So select the subcategory section for fixed expenses, add rule, drop down from range, go to our setup tab, fixed expenses right here, change it from chip to arrow, click done. All right. So this is done. We can select a few like so, just to make sure it's working the way it's supposed to, and then repeat the same steps. All right, so now that this is done, make sure each of them, for the last row, it says total. And then for the top area here, we're going to add the headers. So back to our example, this is expected distribution. So this is going to be the breakdown for these amounts here for the different categories. Actual distribution is a breakdown here for the different categories. And then this is going to be these two graphs together. So we're going to copy the headers because we're adding the graphs later on, paste them here. Expected distribution, actual distribution, budget versus actual. So far, so good. Let's go back to our checklist. So we're right here. We created a section outlines for the graphs and the tables, so we can cross that off. And we added the table and graph headers, subheaders, and the date picker selection. Added checkboxes to the tables, added our color theme, add monthly goals and customized currency, and added placeholder data. So that's the only thing we haven't done yet. And I'm going to reuse the placeholder data that I have here. If you're going through the process of making the template and you want to do everything first and make sure it works before you add in your real amounts, go ahead and use placeholder data. All right, so I've added the placeholder data. As you can see, I don't have any formulas added yet. This is all just typing in the amounts. And of course, how this would work when you're using this is that in the beginning of the month, here's where you're planning. So you add in the different expected values for each subcategory, for each section. And then at the end of the month, you add in your actual values. So how much you made in investment, add it here, how much your dividends paid you that month, your first paycheck, your second paycheck. So you add the actual values here. And that's really all that you do when you're entering values in this template. Everything else is automated. You can copy your expected over from the previous month and just make changes if you need to. Every month, all you'll be doing is entering your actual values here for each example, and then you're done. Let's go back here. So I added the placeholder data. Next, we're going to add our formulas and our graphs. The first area we're going to add formula to is this area right here. This is the summary table. So we're going to use formulas to pull in the sum of each section into its respective column. Because this is the sum of the income for expected and the sum of the income for actual, you can put a formula which is the sum of this, or if we already have the sum here, we can just reference those cells directly. So what we'll do first is for each table, we'll add a formula for the sum. And then right here in this section, we will add a reference to this total amount. So let's do that next. So the first one is income. So equals sum tab, select this range. All right, and hit enter. And then for this one, what we can do next is just copy this formula, click here, paste formula only. And then when you double click, you can see it has the right range selected. For this section, it's the same thing, equals sum tab. And then now we can just copy this, paste formula only. And because these two tables have the same number of rows, what we can do is just copy the formula here, paste it here. All right. And if you double click, you can see it's actually selecting this range, not this one. So it automatically adapts to the correct range. We'll do the last one, the same thing, equals sum. Now that we have all of our totals done, we can reference those cells directly. So for income, the expected sum of the income, we'll do equals and look for where that amount is going to be. So this is expected, it's going to be D37. So select that, hit enter. So now 6,200 shows up here, which is what we want to see. For the actual, so we can do the same thing, equals, select the cell, enter. And then we'll repeat the same steps for the rest of the tables. For this section here, we want to add up all our expenses. So all the amounts here, excluding the income. We'll enter equals here, select the range we want. So it's going to be this 4, enter. And we can actually copy this now and paste formula only, and double clicking in that cell, you can see it is selecting the correct range. The leftover would be the difference between the income and the total expenses. So that would be equals income minus total expenses. So it is cell D13 minus D18. All right, and then do the same thing. We're going to copy the formula from here, right click, paste formula only. And if we double click, you can see it's the correct formula, which is the total income in E13 minus the total expenses in E18. So that is correct. And then for this area, it is referencing these two cells. So for when you're budgeting, what your leftover is, because you want this to be 0. So we're just referencing this cell directly. All right. And then do the same thing for here, equals, reference this cell. So when you're budgeting, you want this to go to 0. And when you are entering your actual values, hopefully this goes to 0 as well. All right. So that is it for the formulas. Let's go back to our checklist. Okay. So we added our formulas, so cross this off. Next, we're going to add our charts. These ones right here, expected distribution, actual distribution, and budget versus actual. Back here, for the first one, all we need to do is select this entire range. We're not adding the income because we want to see the breakdown of the expenses. We don't need to select anything else here. Go to insert charts. So click on that icon that says insert charts. And here's what it does. So automatically chooses the pie chart, which is fine. That's what we want. We're going to make a few changes. First, we can remove this header that says we don't need it. And go to chart style, remove the background color because we already have a background color here in this section, and remove the border color. And then what we can do is just drag it into that space. So we're just resizing it until it fits perfectly. For the next graph, it's the same category, but we want it to be the actual expenses. So we can copy this chart, paste it here, go to edit chart. And what we're going to do is edit the range. Click on this icon, click in this first section, select fixed all the way to savings. So it's just column C, add another range, select the range here on the actual. So now it's going to ask us for more information because it already has the labels. Column C is fine. It's going to ask us what's going to go in the value, and click here and add this one, the numbers. So the text is going to be column C and the amount is going to be column E. So select that. And once you do that, it puts it into its own pie chart. All right. The last chart is going to be budget versus actual. This one right here that shows you all of them next to each other. So how much income you expected, how much you got, how much fixed expenses you planned, how much you actually ended up spending. So all next to each other. So that's what this is. So to do that, it's the same section here we're using for our chart. Now we're going to select everything. Category, expected, actual. The examples under category, all the amount under expected and all the amount under actual. This entire range, insert charts. And here is what it automatically does, which is fine. So if you want the style, it actually works as well. But if you want it to look like this, we're going to make some changes. Double click to open the settings one more time. Go back to setup. So instead of column charts, it's going to be this one. We don't need the background or the border color, so just remove those and move it to this area and resize it. And then you could remove this label that says category and the header, right? So it looks like this. And you can decide to change the color. Let's say we want to change this color to another shade of green. So once we click and we select expected, which is this reddish orange color, go to fill color, select the one you want. So let's say we do want it to be this lighter green. All right. So select that and it changes all the expected to the lighter green, and the actual is the darker color. But if you want to change it, you can do so as well. The same steps. Change it from expected to actual, go to fill color, and let's say change it to this color. And here's what it looks like. All right, so select whatever colors you want. And then if you want to remove these lines right here, so if you go back to mine, you can see there are no lines. If you want that aesthetic, just double click one more time. All right, and then now we're gonna make sure we're clicking right here on the lines. And it takes us to the area in customize where we can make that change. Here is where we're gonna make the change. Uncheck this box that says major grid lines. And when you do that, here's what it looks like. We've made a lot of progress. Let's go back to our checklist, see how we're doing. We added our charts. Next, we're going to do conditional formatting, and we'll wrap up this tutorial. And then, of course, come back for part 2, where we're going to go into creating the annual tab, which is this one right here. So first, we'll do the conditional formatting for the checkboxes. Here's what I mean by that. So here you see these checkboxes. Let's say you're done with a subcategory. You can cross it off and it gives you the scratch off effect. So that's what we're going to do first. Let's go back here. We want to apply to this entire area. So select the entire area. Go to conditional formatting. So you can go to conditional formatting by going here, format, conditional formatting. I like to go directly here from fill color or from the text color. It shows up right here. It shows up right here. So select that. We already have the correct range selected. We're going to change the format rule. Select, go all the way down to custom formula is. So now what we're going to do is we want this formula here to recognize the checkbox here. This is B23. We're going to do equals $, and enter in the location for the first checkbox, B23. The formatting style, we're going to create that grayed out effect. So for the background, you can click none. For the text, change it to this gray color. Click on strike through to apply the strike through effect. Click done. So now what we can do is test it out. So when we cross this off, you can see that that formatting has been applied. And then you just do it for the rest of the tables. To add another row, select data range. Now we're going to do this data range next. Click OK. Change it to custom formula is. For the custom formula, equals $, the first checkbox, which is in G13, so type G13, change the formatting style. Click done. We can test it out, and you can see it works exactly how we like. So go ahead and follow the same steps and apply that formatting to these 3 tables right here. The next is to highlight the budget versus actual cells, and here is what I mean by that. So in this example, back here, when we are budgeting, all right, when we need to enter our expected values for our income and expenses, we can check this box and it shows us where we need to be typing into. So of course, we're not going to be typing anything here because this is controlled by formulas, but here is where we'll be typing in our values. So typing values here, etc. And then when we're done with that, we can uncheck it. And later on, when we come back to enter the actual values, and it shows exactly what we need to do. So that's all we're doing in this section. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, because the template will work without it. But if you want this extra formatting, let's go ahead and add it to the template. It's going to be conditional formatting. First, let's open our conditional formatting tab. Click on add another rule. Select the icon that says select data range. We're going to add multiple ranges at the same time. So first is this expected value in the monthly summary. And you can skip this if you want, especially because this is going to be controlled by automatic formulas. But if you wanted to show up here, select the range. Once that is done, click on add another range. And we'll do this one here. Add another range. So you can see that we're just selecting these cells here, all right, where the numbers are going to go for expected for all of the tables, right? So add this one. So when you're done, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 tables in this area. Click OK. Next, we're going to change the formatting rule. So like we did before, click on the drop down, go to custom formula is equals. Now we want to reference this cell right here, B8, because this is the cell that when we check is going to activate the conditional formatting. So add $, before you type the cell, and we're going to do B, add another $, after the B, and then 8. All right, so it's going to be $B, $8. And B8 is the location for the cell right here. Change the formatting style. So I'm going to do this yellow color and click done. Now let's test it out. So if we check this box, you can see that most of them get this yellow color, but not all of them. So anyone that has this box checked off doesn't have this color showing up. And that's because of the order of conditional formatting. So I'm going to select everything so you can see all the formulas in this area. So these are the other conditional formatting formulas we worked on first. And this is applying the conditional formatting to this section first before applying the yellow. What we want is this to have the first priority. So we're going to drag this all the way to the top. And then now everything shows up as yellow. And these gets applied second. When we check this box, everything shows yellow. When you uncheck it, it goes back to the original. I want this to show up as yellow to this section here. So I'm going to add this section to the conditional formatting formula. So open conditional formatting. Again, here's the formula. Go back to select data range, add another range, and I'm just adding this range right here. And click OK and done. Let's work on the next one. It's going to be the exact same thing. We have conditional formatting open, add another rule, click on select data range. So we'll add all the ranges we want to apply formatting to. So we'll start with this range right here, add another rule. Now we're selecting this column. So this one that says actual. Everything that says actual is going to be selected instead of expected or budget. So the exact same idea, but we're selecting a different range. All right, so after all the ranges have been selected, click OK and change the formatting rule. This is going to be custom formula. Same thing, equals $. The cell location is column B, row 9. So we'll type B, another $, and 9. Then we'll apply the formatting style with this green color right here. Check this box, select the entire range. You can see it's all the way at the bottom. So we're just going to move it over these guys here and put it right here. Doesn't matter which one you put first or second for the expected versus the actual. They should still have priority over these ones. So now you can see that when we check this, everything here is checked. When we uncheck this and check this, everything here is checked. And then when we check both of them, here's what it looks like. All right, so back here, This is done. The final conditional formatting we're going to add is the one for zero budget. That's this one right here. And it changes color based on if it's a positive or if it's a negative number. So if it's a positive number, it's green. If it's a negative number, it's red. That's all it's doing. Back here, we'll apply it to this section and then we'll apply it to this section. So to do this, select both of them. Conditional formatting. The first one is going to be if it's less than. If it's less than zero, it's negative. So we want that to be red. So change the color to red and change the text color if you want more contrast. Then we're going to apply to this range as well. Go to apply to range and add another range. So select this range, click OK, and now it applies to both areas. And they're exactly the same, so we should expect the same results. Click done. We're going to do the same thing to this range, add another rule, add this range again. So we have both ranges selected. And what we want now is for it to be greater than or equal to 0. We'll do a green color for that, change the text color to white, and click done. We have green for positive numbers and red for negative numbers. All right, so back to our checklist. We are done with the first part of this tutorial. Remember, this is a two-part tutorial. I had to break it into two parts because number one is going to be really long. Number two, this budget template actually works with just the first part. So if you don't need an annual summary tab, you're actually done, because once you create this tab, all you need to do for the next month is to make a duplicate, change the month, and change the values. But if you want the annual summary tab, come back with your monthly template. We'll add this additional tab and then we'll connect these tabs to this tab. By the way, if you are a Patreon member, you will get a copy of this template. I'll leave a link to my Patreon in the description box below. Before we go, I do want to show you that I do have a template for sales. Of course, you're welcome to get started with this template. I try to make it as robust as possible, so you really don't have to buy a template. If you don't need to, this should be good enough. But if you want to support my channel or you don't want to make this template at all, I'll show you my template that I have for sale. So let's check out my template, then we'll copy and then we'll wrap up part 1 and I'll see you in part 2. All right, so here is the template that I have for sale. What's nice about this is that everything has already been done for you. It has a setup tab, just like we created. It has an annual table, annual summary dashboard, so a little bit more comprehensive. So you're looking for something that has a little bit more data, that's what this is going to be. And then we have our monthly tabs, which is very similar to what we already created. So if you want something ready to go ahead and check out the link to purchase the template. I have this example in dollar, but it comes in multiple currencies. And if you're not sure if your currency is available, let me know and I will create one with your own specific currency. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Remember, there is a part 2. So if you want to be notified when I release part 2, subscribe and click on the icon so you will be notified as soon as that video is available. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.